Hey, guess what's happening on this week's episode of the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with your friend and host, Oscar Camejo.
Are you tired of feeling stuck and unsure how to manage your health after being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes? Whether it's been days, months, or even years since your initial diagnosis, it's probably normal to feel overwhelmed by the challenges and complications that come with type 2 diabetes. But what if I told you that there is a way to regain your control? What if I told you that reversing type 2 diabetes, becoming physically fit, and feeling great is possible? There's a way to simplify your approach to health so you can live a vibrant, full life. Now, imagine a path to wellness that isn't confusing and overly complicated. In today's episode, I'll reveal the most straightforward and effective strategies I've used to not only manage type 2 diabetes, but to reverse it potentially. Yes, it's possible to get your blood sugar under control. It's possible to lose weight and keep it off. Folks, it's possible to reduce or even eliminate the need for medications. It's possible to eat foods that you love without feeling like you're just on this strict, overwhelming, restrictive diet. It's possible, folks, to regain your energy. It's possible to develop self-care skills that you can be proud of. Diabetes doesn't have to define your future, and it definitely doesn't have to mark the end of your joy and happiness. Today marks a new beginning, folks. What will you do with it? So stick around to hear the rest of today's episode. You don't want to miss it. Let's go. Be sure to visit the website at www.beatingdiabeteslifestyle.com for access to free resources and other information that will help you along your journey. If you would like to submit a question or a comment about the show or to learn more about the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle, you can always email me at hello@beatingdiabeteslifestyle.com. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to this podcast. Welcome to the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with me, your host, Oscar Camejo, helping diabetics make lifestyle changes to reverse type 2 diabetes. Today, let's dive into this episode, Reversing Diabetes, Becoming Fit, and Feeling Great. Earlier today, I rewatched some previous videos that I had published on TikTok some time ago. One particular video was about what I did to beat type 2 diabetes. I share what it took for me to lose over 80 pounds in less than a year in a very smart and sustainable way. So in that video, I was going through and I noticed there were different comments that people had made. One person wrote in and said, "I just got diagnosed. I'm here to learn." Someone else wrote, "How and where do I start?" This other person named Amy said, "I've been in remission for 7 months now, was diagnosed in February 2022. And it goes on and on. There's other people. One person wrote, "I was just diagnosed. I cut out sugar and sodas, but what's your take on Crystal Light?" You see, folks, there are a lot of people who, like you, are hungry for change. But I realize that change will require a complete metanoia. That means a complete change of mind. Now, I want to share with you the definition of metanoia. Metanoia refers to the profound transformation or change in one's way of thinking, their perspective or lifestyle, often involving a spiritual, emotional, or psychological awakening. It originates from the Greek combining meta, meaning change, and noia, meaning mind, meaning a shift in the way one perceives and understands the world. Now, for you and your personal growth towards your own metanoia, after your diabetes diagnosis, you can experience a profound metanoia, a complete change of mind that will lead you to dedicate yourself to living a healthier lifestyle and achieve a more positive outlook on life. Let me say this. There will be days when you question whether you're going to succeed or not. Like Larry, who wrote in to my TikTok channel. He wrote in and said, good work, man. I was doing great, but fell off the train. I got to get back. You see, that's a lot of people's situation. Hey, I've been there before, where you start off feeling great, doing some great things, seeing a little bit of results, but life happens and you're putting in the work, but still, because of circumstances, you fall off the train, as Larry said. Speaking of a complete mindset and a lifestyle change, I remember my first day in the gym. Sometime after my diabetes diagnosis, I said, you know what? I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to get my act together. I'm going to start eating right. And it was great. But, there was a time where, it was a major struggle. But you know what? It wasn't the beginning of a new year, like, when people make a New Year's resolution. For me, this was somewhere in the middle of the year. And I was like, you know what? It's time for me to take my life serious enough. It was a starting point for my journey towards good health. In fact, it was on June 7th, 2021. I started a gym membership. I took a tour of the facility. I was excited, but guess what? I was nervous. Then on a day later, June 8th, that was my day one in the gym. I was clueless, overweight, kept my head down. I was experiencing what's called gym shame. I had decent gym shoes. I had an old 3X t-shirt. My workout shorts were way too long. And so, my day one actually took place, if you reverse the clock a little bit, it took place in the hospital when I was first diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in August 2020. So yeah, my first day in the gym may have been June 8th of 2021, but my metanoia, my initial day one, the day that I decided to change, was actually when I was laid up in the hospital. I had just learned that I developed type 2 diabetes, and I was like, whoa, what is the rest of my life going to look like? Being laid up in the hospital for about a week or so, it did something to me. I was angry at myself for letting myself go. But I had to make a shift that week in the hospital, which actually led to me finally taking things serious enough to change. And one of the changes was, I showed up to the gym on my official day one. But you know what? Did I start right away after I had my diagnosis? No. I had to try to figure out what was my new norm going to be like. I had to reevaluate what I was eating. I had to reevaluate what I was doing, not only to my body, but what was I putting in my body. Those regular trips to the fast food place and going through the drive-thrus, those eventually became fewer and fewer trips. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen right away. So my day one started when I was in the hospital. My day one of actually taking practical steps was the day that I set foot in the gym, right? So my mindset change for my day one was in the hospital. What about you? When are you going to make the wholesale quality decision to finally do what it takes to change? Maybe today is your day one, and that's why you found this podcast. Maybe you've been listening to me for a while and you're like, Oscar, I've been listening to you for a while and I really need to get my stuff together. I've fallen off, but I'm really ready to get back on track. Hey, we've all been there. We've all, have had our struggles, but I'm glad you're here. Whether this is your day one or your reset day one, maybe it's the top of the year for you and you're like, you know what, Oscar, I'm finally going to get my stuff together. So, hey, I'm here to support you. I want you to look forward to the day when you too can look back and tell your own story of transformation. Now, I talk a lot about reversing type 2 diabetes, but I wanted to level set and give you a practical understanding of what it means to reverse type 2 diabetes. Because to be honest, when I was in the hospital and then when I did my follow-up visits with my doctor, no one, absolutely no one that I came across mentioned anything about reversing type 2 diabetes. In fact, I was told that I was going to be on diabetes medication for the rest of my life. I was told that I was going to be on insulin, taking insulin injection, potentially for the rest of my life. My blood sugar levels were really high. I was overweight, sluggish, tired, had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, was dealing with a whole bunch of other things. And so reversing type 2 diabetes was not on the radar, if you will. It wasn't until I started doing some research and about just living a healthy lifestyle that I came across people talking about reversing type 2 diabetes. And I'm like, can that be reversed? I thought you had to live with that for the rest of your life. You just had to, make sure that you don't eat a lot of sweets and stay away from breads and rice and stuff like that. And just, que sera. But you know what? Let me share with you what I've learned. I've learned that reversing type 2 diabetes means achieving and maintaining normal blood sugar levels without relying on medication. That's the simplest definition of reversing type 2 diabetes. Some time ago, I had Jill Weissenberger on my podcast. She's a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and certified diabetes care and education specialist. And she's an author of a well-known practical material that's science-based, and it gives science-based advice on managing diabetes and prediabetes. She also goes in a lot of her periodicals, a lot of her writings. She goes in depth into what it means to reverse type 2 diabetes. Now, she's clear to say that reversing type 2 diabetes or reversing prediabetes does not mean finding a cure, that there is a cure per se, like you're curing the condition. Instead, it's about achieving a state where your blood sugar levels are consistently within normal or non-diabetic range without the need for medication. This is often referred to as remission or reversal. So now when you think of what it means to send diabetes into remission, that means the negative effects of diabetes are you're no longer at risk of those things because your blood sugar levels are back to normal. You're doing whatever you need to do to maintain a healthy lifestyle, healthy blood sugar levels, and so forth. Now, one of the things that came out in my episode with Jill, and by the way, if you want to listen to or even watch the full episode with Jill, I'm going to leave a link in the show notes to that episode. So there's an audio version where you can hear it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, what have you, or you can go on YouTube and find it as well. So I'll leave a link to all of that in the show notes. Now, here's some key points that came out of our interview. She talks about key points, some really in-depth things about reversing, quote unquote, reversing type 2 diabetes that I really want to drive home. Number one, lifestyle changes are critical. Sustainable lifestyle changes like improving your eating habits, having regular physical activity, weight loss if needed, and stress management can significantly improve your insulin sensitivity and your blood sugar control. I wholeheartedly believe this. Now, before I met Jill, I was on a journey of reversing type 2 diabetes and maintaining a healthy lifestyle. And it wasn't until I went to the doctor and my doctor was like, hey, your numbers are looking great. Let me take you off of insulin, the insulin injection. And slowly he started weaning me off of metformin. I was taking metformin. He started weaning me off of that. He eventually took me off of high blood pressure and high cholesterol medication. And then one day he was like, hey, your numbers have been consistently great over the last 3 to 6 months to 8 months, 9 months. It's been over a year now. And so I was completely removed off of all diabetes medication, high blood pressure medication, because things returned to normal. So right now, 3 years later, I am still meds free, and I am so grateful. Now, some more key points that came out of my interview with Jill was weight loss is a very powerful tool to reversing type 2 diabetes. Even a moderate weight loss of 5 to 7% of your body weight can improve blood sugar levels and reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes becoming worse, right? You can even prevent prediabetes from graduating into type 2 diabetes by simply working on weight loss. I would like to add being smart about weight loss. So it's not about starving yourself or going on these highly restrictive diets. That's why the next point, number 3, in our interview, she talked about having sustained efforts that lead to results. Achieving remission or reversing diabetes requires ongoing effort. Falling back into old habits can cause blood sugar levels to rise again, making maintenance of new behaviors crucial. That's why it's important, guys, that we develop better habits, new habits that are sustainable. Now, number 4, Jill and I talked about that. Hey, to be honest, not everyone can achieve remission. There's certain factors like genetics, possibly age, and the length of time a person has had diabetes or prediabetes plays a role in whether remission is achievable. But listen, even if remission isn't possible to the full extent for everyone, making healthy choices still can significantly improve your overall health and reduce complications. That's a fact. Number 5, focus on progress, not perfection. I say it all the time. Jill, during our interview, she kept emphasizing that we should focus on small, incremental changes that are realistic and maintainable rather than trying to overhaul everything all at once. Folks, a common question that I get when I meet people who find out about my story, they say, Oscar, how long did it take you to reverse type 2 diabetes? Well, my answer was simple. For me, it was less than a year, but that doesn't mean for everyone it's going to take less than a year. Mine was roughly 8 to 9 months to completely come off medication, to completely have sustained lifestyle changes that led to me no longer having to need or require medication. Yeah, some people choose weight loss surgery. I chose not to. Some people go on very restrictive diets. I chose not to. I just decided to find what's going to work for me that would be sustainable, that I can say, okay, this is my lifestyle now. Before, my lifestyle included not only poor sleep, and not going to the gym, but my lifestyle also included pizza Thursdays, eating pizza all the time on Thursdays, right? I had no boundaries. I just ate and ate and ate. And no wonder I ballooned up to 268 pounds quickly. I would drink a lot of sugary drinks, sweet teas, lemonades, sweet tea mixed with lemonade, fruit juices, all kinds of sugary drinks, sodas. And it was terrible for me, folks. But again, the lifestyle changes that I made helped me to achieve weight loss in less than a year. Losing 80 pounds, folks, yes, is significant, but it didn't happen overnight. Yes, it took less than a year, but I did it the smart way. So remember what I said before, a highlight from my interview with Jill was weight loss is a powerful tool. When you focus on at least getting 5 to 7% of your body weight down, you're going to see dramatic results. Again, for me, it was less than a year. For you, it may take less than that. It may take more than that. It really depends on your body, what's going on with you. So that's why I like to remind people it's important to seek professional advice from your doctor, from a registered dietitian, from your endocrinologist. Don't just take my word for it. I want you to seek help in getting your life under control. You definitely need to get advice before making any drastic lifestyle changes. Sometimes people watch things on the internet, like on social media, and they take these bad advice and end up ruining their health and making things worse. I don't want that to be your case. That's why I encourage you to take some practical action steps to making lifestyle changes to reverse type 2 diabetes. And when I say action steps, I mean smart, actionable steps that are doable, that are sustainable. You get what I'm saying? Now, what are some of those action steps? Consistency. Consistency is key, folks. Consistency means maintaining steady, positive habits over time. Yeah, we all have to start small, folks, and focus on sustainable changes, like, for example, eating balanced meals, staying active, getting quality sleep, and tracking our progress. But you know what? A lot of things get in the way of all of that. Yeah, I hear you, Oscar. I'm supposed to be eating balanced meals. I'm supposed to stay out of the drive-thru. I'm supposed to cut back on sweets and XYZ. But, life happens. But, some of the other things outside of just life that happens, some people lack the motivation. You may be in a situation right now where you're like, you know what? I need some inspiration. I need some motivation. That's why I listen to Oscar every week, because he's going to say something that's motivating, that's inspiring, that's encouraging. Well, you know what? Yes, I'm here to encourage you. I'm here to motivate you. But, a lot of times the lack of motivation gets in the way for some people. Something else that gets in the way is having unrealistic expectations, time constraints, stress, distractions like excessive TV or social media. All of those things can get in the way of your progress, folks. One thing I did was during the week, Monday through Friday, I said, you know what? I am not going to binge watch television like I used to, because with sitting down, being sedentary, and watching a lot of television programs was excessive eating of snacks, what they call grazing, where you're constantly getting up and going and making some popcorn, constantly getting up and drinking fruit juice, and you're just kind of grazing and eating all these unhealthy things throughout this time of you sitting there watching television. I mean, how many hours have we spent just sitting there scrolling through social media and mindlessly snacking, not even thinking about it? Now, remember, I mentioned that your action steps are going to require consistency. Now, how do you stay consistent? It's important to identify time wasters and replace them with productive habits. I talked about social media, TV watching, sometimes playing video games, for those of you who are gamers. It could be a time waster. Another way to stay consistent is to remember that it's not about your intensity, but it's about steady progress. Now, you going really intense in the gym for 2 and 3 hours does not necessarily mean that you're making progress. When you go to the gym, I don't want you to be like I was on my day one, clueless, not knowing what to do. I want you to reverse that, or change your mindset, be prepared to go into the gym. Already have a plan that, this week I'm going to work out 3 days out of the week. Day 1, I'm going to do this. Day 2, I'm going to do this. Day 3, I'm going to do XYZ. And a lot of times that may require you can download some exercise plans for that match exactly what you're trying to achieve. What I don't want you to do is spend a whole bunch of money getting lost in the weeds and desperately just trying all these different things, and you still end up not getting results. So the bottom line is, it's not about intensity, but about steady progress. Have a plan, go to the gym with a plan. When you're starting to meal prep, have a plan for what you're going to eat for the week. Start thinking ahead. Don't be like me, whereas every day, well, let me decide what I'm going to eat. And then you end up looking, it's already 8, 9 o'clock at night. And guess where you find yourself? In the drive-thru, eating something that you and I both know you shouldn't be eating. If you're in the drive-thru right now, if you just pulled up to the drive-thru or you're thinking about going to the drive-thru or your fast food place, stop it, turn around, go to the grocery store, find something to make at home that's low sodium, that's not fried, that you can fix at home and stop spending all this money on stuff in the drive-thru. You hear what I'm saying? So again, how to stay consistent? You start by making small steps, by taking small steps. Focus on small wins that add up over time. For example, swap out those sugary drinks for more water or herbal tea, folks. Add more green vegetables to your meals. Give your body more of what it needs, not what it craves. You also want to set a regular bedtime and have a regular bedtime routine so that you can get proper sleep. If you don't get enough sleep, if you don't get quality, adequate sleep, it will affect your health. I told you, what I'm sharing with you, that was my turning point. Those are the things that I had to do to turn my life around. I'm not telling you something that's pie in the sky, that's impractical. I'm telling you something or telling you things that will help you to turn your life around. Now, what you do with this information is on you. But I know for me, leaving the hospital, I made one life-changing decision, and that was to prioritize my health above all else. Well, I'll tell you this, leaving the hospital, I made one life-changing decision, and I'm glad I did. And that was to prioritize my health above all else. It wasn't glamorous, and it definitely wasn't quick, but it worked, folks. Now, here's how I did it and how you can too. I want you to start learning about sugar. Understand how processed carbs and sugars affect your body. Learn about the importance of cutting sugary drinks. That's what I did. Replace them with healthier alternatives, like I mentioned, water, and there are some other options as well. I also want you to wean yourself off of sugary foods. When you start gradually eliminating high starch foods and high sugary foods, you're going to start finding that, you lose your taste for those sugary foods. The cravings won't be as intense as before, because guess what? You're not giving your body what it craves. You're giving it less of that. Now, am I saying never eat a slice of pie or never eat cookies or a brownie? Don't eat breads anymore. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is when you start eating less of those things and giving your body more of what it actually needs, you're actually going to help curb those cravings and that appetite for unhealthy things. As I mentioned before, eat more vegetables, specifically eat more green vegetables. Add nutrient-rich vegetables to your plate, folks. I know somebody who loves starch and loves carbs a lot. When I say a lot, they love it a lot. And it's rare for them to have something green on their plate. And I'm always encouraging them, hey, you can eat more than just salads. There are different things like asparagus, there's spinach, there's all kinds of things. There's asparagus, all kinds of things out there that can help give your body what it needs. And folks, listen, just taking a multivitamin is not good enough. I was trapped in that thinking that, hey, if I take all these supplements, I should be good. I can eat whatever I want. No, it doesn't work like that, folks. You can actually be shooting yourself in the foot. Now, let me move on. Stop eating late at night, like I mentioned before. Set off a cutoff time for eating your meals. If you can eat no time past 8:30 or 9 o'clock, you'll be on the road to good health. I'm telling you, because you don't want to have all that food sitting on your stomach anyway, trying to digest. And now you wonder why you're waking up in the middle of the night and all kinds of stuff. So exercise. That's another key component of turning your life around. Regular exercise is important. Even short walks make a big difference. 10 minutes of walking versus 2 hours of sitting down in front of the computer or TV will make a big difference. I mentioned about prioritizing sleep. There was a time where I was going to bed at 2 a.m. every night, folks, and then turning around and getting up at 6 a.m. for work. I mean, it was crazy. It was bad. I was operating on fumes all the time, and I convinced myself that all I needed was 4 hours of sleep and I'll be fine. Well, folks, that caught up with me later on. So I don't want that to be the case for you. Folks, I have so much that I can share with you. I wanted this episode to really be something that whets your appetite for wanting to reverse type 2 diabetes, for wanting you to make lifestyle changes to reverse type 2 diabetes. And you know what, folks? I have a library of information on various topics on sugar, how to cut out sugary drinks, how to incorporate more vegetables in your diet. I have episodes on stress. I have episodes on sleep, all kinds of topics out there. There's so much free information out there for you. Now, if you go to my website at www.beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com, there's some free resources that I want you to download. I have a weight loss journal that you can download for free. I have a shopping guide that's there for you to access. I have all kinds of things out there for you, including the podcast episodes. But my thing is, folks, with all the information that you require, whether you listen to me or you listen to someone else, I want you to make lifestyle changes that make sense, that are smart, that will not break the bank, that would actually help you along your journey. But folks, it's going to be up to you to put in the work. I believe you can do it. So go do the work. And as always, stay focused, keep moving, never go back, leap forward, bounce back because you can, my friend. And above all else, trust God. You got this. I believe in you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with Oscar Camejo. We hope you enjoyed this episode. As a reminder, this podcast is intended for motivational and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional care by a physician or other healthcare professional or qualified fitness instructor. This podcast is provided on the understanding that it does not constitute medical or professional advice or services. If you're looking for help on your journey, seek a qualified medical practitioner. It's important that you utilize someone who is a trained, licensed healthcare professional who can help you on your journey toward good health.